Mortal Kombat 2 is a 2026 American action film directed by Simon McQuoid and stars Karl Urban, Adeline Rudolph, Martyn Ford, Tati Gabrielle, Jessica McNamee, Mehcad Brooks, Ludi Lin, Josh Lawson, Tadanobu Asano, and Damon Herriman. And the plot follows the return of Shao Kahn in the final tournament of champions that will determine the future of the Earth Realm. And like I've said before, I grew up with those first few Mortal Kombat games, and even if I haven't completely kept up with the series, I do kind of remain a fan every now and then. Every 7-8 years, like I'll pop on one of the newer games, and they all seem pretty cool. It looks like the game series is still going pretty damn strong. And I did review that 2021 Mortal Kombat movie, which it didn't exactly blow me away, but I thought it was pretty solid. It was at least worth a watch. I think I watched it twice. And a lot of people seem to be really talking about this part 2 being quite an improvement on that one. So I guess let's see how I feel. So Simon McQuoid returned to direct with Jeremy Slater writing, a writer known for The Umbrella Academy, Godzilla x Kong, let's see, the Moon Knight series, the Exorcist series. Pretty high-profile guy, I guess you could say. A lot of those things I named were, fairly well-liked, I guess. You also have Stephen F. Windon handling the cinematography this time around, known for his work on a bunch of modern, like Fast and Furious and Star Trek movies. All right, so he's along for the ride. So the beginning shows our big bad, of course. Shao Kahn, we all know who that is, taking over Adenia and keeping Quinn Sindel and her daughter Katana as his own family. But years later, it's time for another tournament, as always, determining the fate of the universe. This was actually part of one of the Mortal Kombat game storylines. It might actually be Mortal Kombat 2, the game. I can't remember. Maybe it's 3, but whatever. So Shao Kahn has Quan Chi resurrect Kung Lao and Kano for their team, for their champions. And I kind of had mixed feelings about that, but it could just be me. Quan Chi is a cool character. I do remember him from some of the games, and I get that in the video game storyline he can resurrect people, and that's cool. But I would rather have just had new characters instead of dudes that died in the first movie, just to see them, But whatever, it's not that big a deal, and it is game accurate, so I really can't complain about that. So anyways, in the meantime, Raiden, Sonya, and Jax go to Earth to recruit the character we've all been wanting to see this whole time, Johnny fucking Cage. I know a lot of people were kind of upset that he didn't show up in the first movie, and he was always one of my favorite characters too. But they teased him in the end credits scene, so we knew we would see him in this sequel, assuming it got made, and it did, because here we are. So, and if you've seen the trailer, you know that they go all in with Johnny Cage leading the story and played by Karl Urban, no less. And I'm a fan of Karl. I thought he killed it as Dredd. He brought to life the Billy Butcher character in The Boys. And now, the martial arts movie star Johnny Cage. In the Mortal Kombat universe, and, back in the day, like I said, I was always a Johnny Cage fan. So, this all works for me pretty well. And to make that even better, since he is pretty much the lead, and so he gets like this super fun backstory, which I thought was cool, and actually pretty smartly written. So for those of you fucking nerds that didn't play the games, I can't imagine you really wanting to watch this. But anyways, I'll just elaborate a little bit on Johnny. As a video game character, he was the only. From what I remember, he was the only character in the video games that didn't have any kind of like supernatural powers. We all just thought he was cool, and I think that was good enough for us. So his backstory was that he was this big Hollywood actor. So in this movie, like his career kind of peaked decades ago, and he's doing like Comic-Con appearances now and stuff like that. But he also has like a legit martial arts background, and he has actually competed in tournaments and all that stuff, which is a cool touch. And you get to see a fight scene from one of his movies called Uncaged Fury. I'm assuming like a 90s movie that he did, a fictional movie, of course. And this was easily my favorite part of the entire movie, kind of, unfortunately, but not really. I know that some people complained about Karl Urban's casting because because of his age and stuff like that. Johnny in the game was much younger looking, of course. So this storyline made that all make sense. Johnny Cage he is a washed up actor. His career's pretty much over. So I really do feel like it was one of the new writer's main jobs to try and make everything make sense and kind of right some of the wrongs from the first movie. And I do believe that attempt was made, and I think the writing does succeed in a lot of areas, but also the ball does get dropped more than a few times here, in my opinion. It's a Mortal Kombat movie, though, so I don't know. I don't care that much, but I would say that this is a step up from the first movie, so, we will see if he can do even better for the third one, as far as the writing is concerned, which will likely happen. It sounds like people are liking this one, so I imagine a third will probably happen. Anyways, so Johnny initially doesn't want to join a tournament where you have to fight to the death, because who the fuck would? So he does take some convincing, of course, but they eventually get him to come along, and this is kind of where my main issues start, which is my issue with the tournament itself. Mostly because I really didn't like how the tournament was structured. Super annoying how it just kind of starts and pauses for storyline parts, and I just didn't like that at all. I do get how some of the later games did have like a storyline mode where you would do some story stuff and then you would do a tournament, that's cool, I guess, but I just like a tournament structure better. So that really bothered me. I just wanted the tried and true format of getting all the story out of the way and then, finish everything with the tournament itself. Like with the first fight, I couldn't even actually tell that it was part of the tournament, so that kind of annoyed me. But the fights are good. The gore is good too, but not exactly an improvement on the first movie, which I guess is fine. Because I think the first movie did the gore well too. I just wanted more of it, more of the gore. More fatalities. I really don't think there were that many like fatalities and stuff. I think the gore and violence just could have been ramped up so much, but it's still there and it's still good. So, more fighting and more gore, slightly better structured tournaments. I think that's really what I want. I think that's all I really want from a Mortal Kombat story. Don't get me wrong, though. The storyline and quest stuff is pretty entertaining at times. Sometimes that's really fun, like when the Earthrealm champions travel to Baraka's land to try and recruit him. That was really, really fun. And Baraka was always one of my favorite characters with the knife arms and stuff. I always thought he looked cool. He was fun to play. So speaking of characters, they double down and bring back Cole Young from the first movie. And I guess they kind of had to for continuity's sakes, because, us fans, we hate when continuity is fucked with. But it kind of sucks since he should have never been created in the first place. He was just never needed. I think we're pretty much all on the same page with Cole Young, I imagine. But that said, what they do with him here is pretty cool, so they handled it well, let's say that. So I'm giving Mortal Kombat a 2.5 out of 4 stars. It's a fun time, but I'd like to see the next one, like I said, with a better structured tournament and, whatever. And we still need to ramp up the violence and the gore, in my opinion. Again, all that has been good in both movies, but we just need more of it. That said, the fan response seems pretty strong, so like I said, I feel confident that they're going to make a third. The sales, last I checked, I think looked pretty good, so yeah, it was a fun time. Cheers, guys, and I'll see you at the multiplex.
Subscribe right now, please.